Good. I'll tell you 3 things about myself. 1, I went to paragraphs for the first time this afternoon. So, I was going to raffle off Ticonderoga pencils, which I still will raffle off because I'm very loyal to Ticonderoga. Yeah, I know people are like, I like her already, right? But I had to buy a paragraphs gift card to raffle off too because I am a believer in feeding myself and my kids, who are now 16 and 18, really great texts. Because Stephen King says the only way to become a better writer is to read a ton and put your butt in a chair and write every day. Now, you might not want to use that exact language with your students, but I really espouse to that. And so having the opportunity to be in first just like a beautiful bookstore, and then a bookstore where the booksellers nod and look at you and they bother you, but not too much, just enough. So someone will get to go have that experience at the end of the day. So I'm actually wondering, does someone mind being a timekeeper and letting me know when it's 6:45? Is anyone good at their watch or their clock? Just let me know. Thank you, Sue. Let me know when it's 6:45. And that way we'll have enough time for exit tickets and a raffle at the end. So we'll use our name tags for a raffle ticket at the end. You'll just take it off, fold it in half, we'll put them in the bin, and that way we don't waste another piece of paper on anything. Okay, so I truly, truly believe in the work of being a reader yourself, really filling you up in the work of being a writer. Second, I'm a mom in Shaker Heights, Ohio. It's the first suburb east of Cleveland, right on the border of Cleveland. And I have never, ever, ever been an active school mom. I've been like the lazy mom who takes the cupcakes out of the store-bought cupcake thing and puts them on a plate to pretend like I made them. And I have, in the past 4 or 5 years, gotten crazy involved in equity issues in my community. So Shaker is a majority minority district, 40% free and reduced lunch, and so I have been very invested in what it means to be a mom who cares not just about her own kids' success, but all kids' success. And that is new work for me, so it feels fragile. It feels sometimes like I make mistakes that I don't want to make, because I was telling Bonnie you could wake me up in the middle of the night and I could teach an LLI lesson, because I know balanced literacy. So I grew up with Fountas and Pinnell. Irene was my professor in undergrad. I went to Lesley University to do my teacher training, and I could be like 5, 5, 15, 5, odd, even, instructional level. But around this parenting work, I'm making mistakes, and so it's good for me to learn what it means to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. So like you, perhaps some of you implementing new curriculum, as a parent in a really fancy schmancy parent community, I am making my way. And so that's new and important work. 1, I love to read, and I think it's important to feed ourselves as readers. 2, I care tremendously about all the kids in my own community being successful. And we've got a huge achievement gap and a lot of tension, so we're working in that space. The last thing that's important to know about me, I already told someone. I have 2 gears, 5th gear and to sleep. So I'm working really hard to bring great 5th gear, not by, we're talking as fast as I can and making people feel urgent and upset, but really making sure, if you can bear with me, that we move, that we talk to not just the people we work with every day, but to other people, that we track our questions, that we live the norms of good professional communities, and I'll pop those up in a bit. So that's both an asset, but I'm going to warn you where it might not feel like an asset. And that will be when you guys are talking at your table and I just decide to come over and teach from right here for a few minutes. To be like, you've got to stop talking about Mary Jones. I'm going to send you both out of the room if you don't stop it, right? So I'll use proximity. I'll try and read the room. So when no one's raising their hand on a cold call, look, you're making eye contact. contact with me, I'll call on people out of the blue, right? Exactly. And you'll try and hide, but we'll try and use humor and chocolate and energy and in order to make, and highlighters and Ticonderoga pencil giveaways to make this good time together. Because it's just really hard to rally to do PD from 4 to 7 p.m. And the truth of the matter is, Lucy Calkins was at Ohio State today at the Reading Recovery Conference. So I'm like feeling, one, why am I not there getting fed by Lucy, who's just like, this has this great aura about her. But two, like, you're stuck with me when the guru of this curriculum is just minutes away from us. But we will make do and make that happen. Oh, and I'll tell you one other thing. I got married at Kenyon College. My husband was a graduate. I had my wedding reception in Pierce Hall, catered by ARA Food Service. So there you go. That's the last bonus item about me. So thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this work. I'm staying in with that fifth gear. What do we want to get done today? Well, I hope we're going to feed the norms of good professional community. And I also hope you're going to walk away knowing what's in this kit. So we're going to unpack the kit literally and figuratively, so that if I woke you up in the middle of the night and I was like, explain to me the difference between the professional books and the units, you'd be like, one of them is spiral bound and one of them is smooth bound. And I would let you go back to sleep, because that would be a good enough answer. I hope I could also wake almost all of you up in the middle of the night and have you tell me what the structure of writing workshop is. So some of you may already know, we'll connect on that, but we're really going to dig into that structure of mini lesson, work time, share time. In fact, I might as well warn you now, we're going to write. So there you go, I said it. Lucy really believes that we can't be powerful teachers of writing without being writers ourselves. So either I could tell you, hey, go home and write something tonight at 7 when you get home, or I could build the time in for us to write ourselves. So we're going to write ourselves. We have 3 hours. We might as well write for 15 minutes of that, right? And I also hope that we are going to gather questions and hopes and dreams about what implementation looks like. So there's a parking lot over here, because at some point someone's going to raise their hand and they're going to be like, yes, but what would you do if you had a kid who didn't speak English, who repeated 3rd grade, who was being raised by their grandparent and was left-handed? And I would want to support that, but I would probably be like, I'm going to take your name really quick and put that on the parking lot so I can follow up with you, so that we don't do micro coaching in something that's a whole group setting. So, build community, unpack the tools, understand the structure of workshop, and gather questions, because questions are the engine that drives thinking. Those are our shared goals, so I just want you to just take a second and think about what your personal goal is for these 3 hours. Stay awake. Doesn't count. So I want you to think about what your personal goals are for the work we're going to do together. And just take a minute and jot it on the front page of your handout. My goal is, I'm going to ask you to RTQ and write a full sentence. My goal for today is, yes, perfect time to be like, who needs a handout, right? There you go. Julie, welcome. How many?
Please.
Kyle, 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Do you have highlighter too? Am I making a name tag? Thank you very much. Kim, there you go. There you go. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. I think we're down to almost, did you get a handout yet? Okay, you have a handout. Great. There you go. Thank you. Can I see what your shirt says? Oh, love it. Thank you. In between her necklace and your shirt, I'm in and Paragraph's bookstore, I'm in total Mount Vernon envy today.
You need another one.
Thank you. So fill that out. My goal for today, the outcome I'm moving toward in these 3 hours, it's okay to just reinforce something I've already done, but if you've got some personal outcomes, go ahead and drop that in as well. I'll give us just about 10 more seconds. So classic workshop would be right now, I should ask everybody to, we're not going to turn and talk and share that with a partner though. Hold on to it for a second. I promise we'll come back to it later, okay? I mean, I'm a stereotype, but not that bad of a stereotype, Chelsea. So what are we going to do? We're going to actually have writing workshop, and then we're going to debrief that workshop. So I'm going to do an adult mini lesson, then you're going to have an adult writing time, then we're going to have an adult share time after that. Mini lesson, work time, share time. Then we're going to unpack the kits. Then we're going to have a work time, and we're really orienting that work time in what I would call a radical professional reading, the philosophy that undergirds this program. The chapter, the 8 pages, where Lucy kicks your butt to the ground and says, this is why I've organized this curriculum this way. And you better know it so that when a principal gets in your face, although not here, I always have to say that because usually the principals are like, oh yeah, we're coming to the workshop, and then they're not. Shout out to you guys, right? Exactly. They're like, I'm here, which is a gift, and that's happened at Carlos there at East with us as well, and the gentleman who reached out to me about being at Wigan Street is planning on being there, so that is a gift. And I will say this, and doesn't always happen. But you need to know the philosophy that undergirds this program. And you also need to be ready when parents see something, or when kids are like, this is dumb, or I can't do this. Or when adults say, they can't do this. You have to come from a place of asset and hope and understanding. So that's the professional reading we're going to dig into. P.S. I'm also going to kick you off into some additional rereading from part of Pathways to sort of connect the dots between your last session, this session, and the next session. And then we're going to do a quick exit ticket and raffle, woohoo, and then we'll be done at 7. Here are the norms. They're on my resume, so that when I first got the call from Mount Vernon, I'm just like everybody, my resume is in Google Drive, and I send it out, and people are like, that's weird that your norms are on there, and I'm like, okay, well, if it's weird, don't hire me. But here's what I believe in, that professional learning and instructional coaching, which I do a ton of, I coach superintendents and principals all over the Midwest on implementing balanced literacy instruction. That's my sweet spot. And to be very honest, mostly in urban settings. I don't work in a ton of suburbs. I work in Chicago, I work in CMS Cleveland Metropolitan School District, I work in DC, I work in a cluster of schools in New York City, and then I have a couple suburban clients. But I am very committed to access to this kind of teaching and learning for all kids. I believe in it with every bone in my body. So, in order to do that coaching work, or that PD work, or that demonstration when I'm at East on Wednesday, I'm teaching workshop instruction all day. In order to do that well, I believe that this work needs to be active. So, that's why there's and pencils and writing and turn and talk, that the work has to have a flow and an energy to it. I believe that you have to be present. I was just kidding with someone. My kid just texted me, do we have milk? And I'm like, do I answer that text in a smart alecky way? I don't know, you're at home and I'm in Mount Vernon. There's one way to find out, and it's not by texting me. So we're connected to our phones, we're connected to our stresses and strains. What does it take to be present in the work? I'll share some videos of me teaching if you guys are interested, and I almost always begin my mini lessons with a deep breath, in that mindful space of slowing us down so that we can become writers. and I'll do that for you guys today. Right now I'm still in 5th gear. But being present means slowing down sometimes. For other kids, it might mean speeding up. So it's being able to do both of those things for kids and adults. I'm a big believer in speaking truth. If someone wants to raise their hand and be like, I don't think this will work with second language learners. This doesn't work for poor rural kids. I don't believe that my kids can sit still for a read aloud. All of the things that people say to me about this really robust, hard, hands-on teaching curriculum. I'm like, bring it on. Do you want to talk about that together now? Because I really want to make sure that folks want to solve the problems, not just name them. Like, naming problems, great. But the work, the reason I became a teacher was to solve problems. So I'm really committed to that space. And then I'm a believer in joy. Raffles, chocolate, snacks, picture books on the table, right? That this is what we bring energy from. So I lug 50 books here. Well, I lugged 40, then I had to buy 10 at the bookstore. Because this is what builds our engine. This is what makes things good for us as well. So those are the norms I live by. That's what I hope that we get through. So we're going to do a quick connector in a minute. First, I'm going to do a quick show of hands and we'll see how everyone's clustered together. So kindergarten people, raise your hands. First, second, third, fourth, fifth. Okay, great. Intervention specialist. Great. Any reading specialists? Do I have anyone here who's like, I'm a PE teacher, but I want a 3rd grade position so badly I come to everything? Like anyone that I haven't named yet? Anyone? Okay, leaders. There you go, good job. Whoa, we're all leaders, there we go. Great, so I've got grade levels and roles. So we're gonna do a quick 2-1 fist, and I'm gonna ask you to hold this up. How familiar are you with the writing workshop model? So not the units, but how well do you know writing workshop, of which there's other curriculums, student teaching, you might have seen it. 2, I'm super familiar. I know the 3 parts of workshop. You know, I would pass that quiz. 1, I've got some background. I think I know the 3 parts, but I certainly am not into the subtleties of it, or this is really new to me. So writing workshop, quick show of hands. Thank you. Up tall. Great, so I've got a couple 2s and a lot of 1s and 5ths, and now I want to know how familiar people are with the units of study. You've actually taught a unit, would be a 2, you've had it last year, you were in another district that used it. 1, I've unshrink wrapped it, and I've, I've done that on demand, and I've already like peeked into what that first bend is going to look like. And if you don't know, you're like, bend? That's a fist. You don't know exactly what I'm referring to when we talk about that. It looks like everyone's shrink wrap is off at this point, but this is brand new to you. Okay, so units of study, quick self-assessment. Okay, Leanne, how are you at 2?
We had the older version at D&M a couple of years ago.
Awesome. Yeah, the old, like the K2 all together, the 3-5 all together. Awesome. Did anybody, were there other 2s? These are the hesitant 2s.
I'm also familiar with the old unit, but I don't count.
The old units, yeah. Yeah, so that gives you a familiarity with the structure, but maybe not the actual units themselves. Okay, awesome. So, we are going to, here comes the turn and talk that you've been waiting for, Chelsea, right? But we are going to stand up and mix it up, and we're going to do that, rose and a thorn, a praise and a push, a glow and a grow, a light and a shadow. So, we're going to start by digging into what a joy in writing, your kids' writing has been this year. And I want to be clear, not your teaching of writing. Something you've noticed about your kids as writers. So I'm differentiating that a little bit. And then secondly, attention you've noticed in your students' writing this year. And I'm not going to unpack that a millionfold, but I am going to be bossy. I need everybody to stand up. I need you to find a partner away from your table, someone you don't work with all the time. We're going to have 5 minutes for this, so it's about a minute per prompt. we're going to practice doing a few things that really great partners do when they're done sharing. So what are those things that really healthy partnerships do after they've turned and talked? What do you do? What is a healthy partnership? When partners are going really well, what does the end of a turn and talk look like, Chelsea? Because you were making fun of my turn and talk. No, I'm just kidding. She wasn't making fun. I'm just picking on her to lighten the mood. Chelsea.
You share their thoughts
Yeah.
as you were listening.
Right, yes. So I could right now be like, so I want you to just echo back to your partner, what their highs and lows or praise and pushes, but I'm not going to do that. But that's super important to remember that that's something that happens, and I bet everyone here would be like, I wish you would have told us that at the front end if you were going to ask us to do that, right? Because being an active listener is hard work. So let's not be surprised when kindergarten kids don't master it by the end of kinder. But we're still going to pour that partner work into them, even though we might not reap the benefits for a year or two. And then they get really good at it in 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th grade, and then they lose it all. All the listening sloughs away. But it doesn't mean you stop doing it. Doesn't mean you stop doing turn and talk. I don't want to be with a boy. I don't want to be with a kid that's not as cool as me. I don't want to be with the girl who has a bad reputation. I don't want to be with the boy with scaly skin. Like we get in that space where we have to norm up what good partner work looks like. So a compliment, a shout out, no one avoided being partners with anyone. And I really sometimes, I've already said I'm 5th gear and I'm rigorous. When I see someone who's like, oh, partner work, I think I'll slip to the bathroom right now so I don't have to be partners with anyone. But that happens all the time in PD. People don't want to hit that first goal. What does it mean to build professional community? So even if you're just taking a leap of faith with me to be like, whoa, we have to get up and find someone, for people who did that, I want to applaud that good work of finding someone, of finding a stand-up partner, of listening deeply to the work you're doing. Right? That's not always, those are unwritten rules. And as we go to do partner work and writing workshop, I want you to make those things visible, and I want you to stay committed to them. Even if the kid has an IEP, even if the girl is angry, even if the boy is mean. We have to be committed to it and just be like, I get it, this is hard. Not everyone likes being partners with someone. Not everyone wants to listen to someone else do their writing. But in our classroom, we care about being good partners. We invest our time in this work, and there will be times when you can pass. But in writing workshop, that's not one of our passing times. So we have to invest in this definition of what good partnership looks like. What else do you need to do to make partnerships good? Let's talk about our bodies, right? You guys were partners across the table. Did that work for you guys?
We leaned in, yeah.
Yes! We have to talk about what our bodies do to make good partnerships. We leaned in. We moved together. We made eye contact. We went shoulder to shoulder. And then all the good nonverbals. If you've ever been to therapy, you know. You're supposed to be nodding your head and being like, But what does research tell us if you've read Malcolm Gladwell's book, Link? 10,000 hours of practice to become expert at something. Again, we might not see the benefit of that active listening, but we're still going to pour the practice in of what that looks like. And so if kids, it's so easy to be like, oh, I don't do any of the partner stuff or the sharing because my kids can't handle it. Those are the very kids who most need us, investing in what it looks like, breaking it down, keeping it joyful, not being like, you know what, we're not going to gym till kids learn how to share, because you'll never go to gym. Right? This is the long game. I know it's not easy. Let's try it today. Let's try it again tomorrow. Believe in us as a community of writers. When you go to read the curriculum, you'll see Lucy says, bring your kids to the rug and lean in with a conspiratorial voice and say, writers, today I am teaching you something absolutely incredible. That's what it says in the curriculum. She wants you to say that to the kids. So there can't be sort of an angry edge to it. It doesn't work. You can't lean in conspiratorially and say, if you talk, your name's going on the board, and you'll never write with a Ticonderoga pencil again in this room, right? So we have to do that work of recognizing the practice, the tone, the what do you do, making the invisible more visible. That's work that we have to be committed to for the long game. And so we have to take care of each other. We have to ask for help. If someone's like, my partnerships are going well, you have to be like, awesome, can I come watch? I want to see it. I want to see your turn and talk. Can I just come for like 6 minutes in your mini lesson? So I'll drop my kids off at gym and hustle right over. Will you just wait till I get there? We have to help each other grow. That's a good norm of a professional community. Last but not least, you need to thank your partners. Let's think of 3 ways you can do that besides saying thank you. So how can you thank your partner besides saying thank you? Yes, say it again. Hang on, I see them back there. What is it? What is it? Yep. Okay, so we're not going to hit him on the shoulder, but we can give our partner an elbow bump or a pinky high five, right? So there's other ways that we can touch each other that are less offensive or safer than that gentle punch on the shoulder. We're going to have to think of other language for that. That's awesome. So I'm going to name another way you could thank your partner, and that's with specific feedback. Thank you for telling me that story about that struggling writer. I feel that sense of anger and frustration that you have, and I hope it gets better. So we can share really specific feedback that proves that we were listening, right? That shows I listened to you, and I'm going to come back at you with content that shows that I was a listener. Okay, so we can do some sort of physical thing. We can follow up with language. What's something else that we can do to thank our partner at the end of our share? What else do you do to thank your partners?
Give them chocolate.
Or Ticonderoga pencils, right? Yeah. So I'm going to put that one as we can bribe our partner. So I'm going to say something really, really radical. Yes, we can absolutely bribe our partnership. So I'm just going to talk about what that might look like in a super healthy way. Writers. It is really hard to belong to a writer's group, and most professional writers do. If you read the back of chapter books as you get older, you'll see that almost every writer thanks their writer's group. They also get grants so that they can be in writer's group, but being in a writer's group is hard. It's really hard work because it means you have to share things that are personal and private sometimes even, and we need to get good at doing that. So we're going to work to be excellent sharers for 10 days in a row. And when we get to that, we're going to have a small celebration. We're going to really feed ourselves the directions for being good writing partners, and then we are going to feed ourselves Tootsie Rolls after we do that work well. So it is okay to say we're working toward a goal. And sometimes that goal is like an invisible, doesn't it just feel good to be in our classroom? And sometimes that goal can be things like, everybody wants to work with skinny Sharpies. So let's work towards that goal of being able to use skinny Sharpies, because in really great writing communities, that work can happen. Or Ticonderoga pencils, or the thrill of a Tootsie Roll. So it is okay to sometimes say, now let's not call it a bribe, but let me put a goal in front of us that we can work toward. So we come back to the rug after, say it again.
It could be a celebration.
Yeah, a celebration, an incentive, right? And then let's come back and then let's really quick vote. 3, we did it. 2, we're on our way. 1, not worthy. I'm looking for everyone to close their eyes, then put your fingers up. Great, I see 2 disagreements, eyes open. You said that we met it, you thought that we didn't. Great, I'm the final arbitrator. I'm giving us a 3, we did it today. Right? So it's okay to set incentives for this kind of work. Okay, so let's just stretch a little bit while we're up. Come on, let me see some stretching. Cross that midline, people. Crossing the midline. Good.
Right?
Yep. Oh, exactly. Okay, thank your partner and decide an elbow bump, a Tootsie Roll, and head back to your spot. One of the tenets of this teaching is that it is social work. Writers are not writing to turn things into you. They are writing to contribute to the writing community. You are not looking at every piece of paper that kids write. If you end up doing that, you will fall over exhausted, and then you'll need to take a extended vacation, and your kids won't become writers, and it's a terribly sad story. So instead, we have to create this mutually accountable community of writers, and you'll read more about that when we get to our professional reading time. So Lucy is in Columbus. I actually tweeted someone to find notes on what Lucy said, but nothing's come back in. So we're going to end up watching a video instead of someone's Twitter feed. But I want you to know, so Lucy Calkins is the founder of the Reading and Writing Project, and she's created multiple versions of this. She wrote a famous book called The Art of Teaching Writing, and she's all over the internet. So Teachers College has a Vimeo site, Units of Study has their own site, Teachers College Reading and Writing Project has a site inside Teachers College. Teachers College is hyper active on Twitter. Raise your hand if you're active on Twitter. Anybody active on Twitter? I see I follow people, right? Like a good typical response. It's very interesting. The very last slide in this PowerPoint, and in a minute I'll give you access to all of these folders. You have access to everything. Every Mount Vernon handout goes into the same folder, and everyone gets access to it. So you'll have it un momento. It's my fault that I didn't put it up right in the first PowerPoint. It's on the last slide. To teach now is a little bit about being active in the right social media spaces. So in a bit you'll see that this curriculum has a Facebook page, and people are like, hey, we're supposed to use Tiger Rising, but I have a kid who had a parent who died, so I don't want to use Tiger Rising. Does anyone else have another idea for this book? And then 62 people will be like, here are other books that you can use instead of that. So it is an active community that supports each other in a very asset-based way. But today, we are going to watch Lucy. She's at a conference. You can see the ballroom that she's in the background. And she's going to talk a little bit about why these units are so important and how we can see sort of the pressure to teach writing that comes from Common Core, how we can see that as an asset, okay? So I want to encourage you to take a couple notes as you dig into this. We're going to go back to those goals when we're done hearing from Lucy. But this is the human being, Lucy Calkins, and we're going to listen to her just for 3 minutes.
You still like to ask about the Common Core, and I think that we just need to be frank and say we don't know what's going to happen in the Common Core. In New York State last year, we had 2/3 of our kids be labeled failures based on the United States test. And the backlash, because really 2/3 of the kids across the state calling them failures, and the backlash has been tremendous. And we're now moving into a time where there's going to be high-stakes Common Core tests being given across the country. Which means that across the whole country we're going to have this kinds of results. And what that will mean, Michael Pullman I know says he thinks that the Common Core may be division it goes down because of a fatal flaw, which is the flaw of implementation or the flaw of high-stakes assessment. So I think we don't know what's going to happen to the Common Core. What I do know is that whether or not the Common Core is here or not, the truth of the matter is schools really need to not change their curriculum based solely on any mandate. Because mandates are going to come and they're going to go. And ultimately, a school system is here for kids. We're here on behalf of kids. And the schools have to say, what is it that I think my kids need? And the Common Core is asking us to do 20 different things. And no school can do all those things. So a school has to say, of all of those many priorities that are being shoved down on us, which of those priorities are ones that we accept as ours, that we actually think is right for our kids, and that we think is something that's right for our school community, and we as teachers want to rally around this. So I say to people, don't teach writing because the Common Core is making you teach writing. Teach writing because we live in a world where kids or everybody's writing all the time. Where 570 new websites are being developed every minute, where 60% of businesses have blogs. Teach writing because we believe that right now in this world, teaching is not just about giving kids access to information, because information, with one press of the finger, we have a whole library of Congress. Teaching is really now but helping people to organize information, to synthesize information, to apply information. And writing is the ultimate tool for doing that. So teach writing for all kinds of other reasons. And then use the Common Core as Whitney understands. You know, if you make the decision to teach writing, the Common Core can help you to get all teachers aboard, to make sure that this is a whole school, a whole system approach. And I do think that there's a message in the Common Core that, you know, no one teacher can do this alone. You know, an 8th grade teacher can't just start teaching writing in 8th grade and get kids actually write with the Common Core. That 8th grade teacher needs to have, you know, the kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, 8th grade, you know, we need to have a systemic approach. So I know I said more than you were asking when you asked the question about the Common Core, but my feeling is that the Common Core can be a force for good, and we need to make sure that that's what it is.
Ooh. Okay. Hang on, I don't want to watch this next video. Stop now, replay, then pause. Yes, I did it. Okay. So I'm going to pull out a couple phrases, and then I'm going to ask you if you came out with some phrases as well. That 570 new websites are popping up on the internet regularly. I missed the end of that sentence. 60% of businesses have blogs, and that kids have access to info with the touch of their finger on the Library of Congress. Do any of you have high school students, kids of your own, high schoolers? Yeah. My kids think Wikipedia is like, oh, and schmoop is like, I don't need to read the book, I schmooped it. Or yeah, I looked it up on Wikipedia. And I'm like, oh guys, come on, I'm a teacher, you can't do that, right? But access to information is crazy. Way crazier than it was when I was a kid. But what Lucy says is that writing is the ultimate way to organize and synthesize and apply that information to sort of make sure that how The Great Gatsby ended, David Vahey, or are you only schmooping it? Or did you watch the movie and you don't know for sure, right? So that we need writing as a tool, and therefore your teacher is assigning writing assignments to help make sure that that work happens. That's what healthy schools are doing, asking kids to write to show that they understand what really happened, and to give their opinion, and to share information, and to be ready for what it means to be a citizen of a democracy, so that you can write a letter to the editor, write it to your legislator, write it to your, like where their fence is, but you can do it with good skill, right? So I'm going to ask us to go back to things. The first, that video that we just watched, that captured a little bit of words from as you were taking notes. Secondly, what you thought is going well and not going well for the writers in your classroom. And lastly, what your goal was for today. What do you want to get out of this workshop? So we've now spent 30 minutes sort of digging into multiple things. I want you to go back to that first page and see, do you still have the same goal as you did 30 minutes ago, as to what you get out of this workshop? And I do want you now to turn and talk to a partner and be like, yeah, I still have the same goal and here's what it is, or I've shifted my thinking a little bit now that I know more after these 30 minutes, and here's how my outcome is for this time together. So turn to a partner. If you can, let's not be in a group of bigger than 3. So if we have a couple 2s and 3s, that's what we want to do. And share what your outcomes are now after we've done some pre-work.
I didn't have a goal because I was getting food.
Why don't you write?
Well, now you can write yours now. Yeah.
So to develop.
I just wanted to know why writing when the aircraft comes along, they respond to a prompt given to them. We're using the text. They have to be able to do that with the voice and all that stuff, which I'm not finding second grade doing that quite yet.
It's hard.
But we're working on an essay right now, and I have a couple that don't even know where to start, like with the topic. They don't even know where to begin. So that's what I'm hoping to get, is how do I start non-starters that don't know where to even start.
Can I ask you a
Even
quick
after-
question? How many essays have you read to your kids that look like great exemplars? Are there examples on the wall?
I usually put one up like on the smart board before we start.
Yeah. No, I'll be kind. Do a couple people want to share what they're trying to get out of these next 3 hours? You know, what are you hoping to accomplish? Yeah.
We talked about interventions, so we were talking about how some of our lower kids, what pieces we can pull from them that's going to support their learning.
Yeah. So I'm going to be blunt. The very first thing is that I hope after doing this, every kid that you interact with thinks of themselves as a writer. Not a kid who can copy off the board, not a kid who can fill in a graphic organizer, not a kid who can barf up what a hamburger essay is, but a kid, oh sorry, I didn't mean to put barf and hamburger in the same thing. But as a kid who has important ideas about true facts, about experiences that they've had, and about the books that they've read, and I can use writing to explain my thinking to you. That is a sea change in what Lucy wants kids to be able to do, to actually think of themselves as writers who have important stories to tell, information to share, opinions to get in front of you, and that doing that work is absolutely possible, even if you have an IEP, even if you're a second language learner, even if you just started at our school last year, that all kids are writers and capable of rigorous writing work. And there are kids, how many people have read Patricia Polacco, Thank You, Mr. Does everyone know that story? Here's that line. You have fooled many, many good teachers into thinking you know how to read. Remember when she's writing on the board and he says, make an S, make an 8, make a T, make a 0. And Tricia learned that if she just read 1 second slower than everyone else, or if she just waited, someone would step in and give the answer. Well, we have many writers who are in that same thing too. If I just wait long enough, there'll be an example on the board and I can just copy it down. If I just wait long enough, she'll move on to the next person. If I just wait long enough, my conference will be over, my specialist will help me, my whatever. And this is the same thing that Patricia Polacco, in her own story, Thank You, Mr. Falker, said, until someone actually, I like to kind of think of him as a reading recovery teacher, Mr. Falker, where he was like, I'm just going to get with you and make sure you know that, like, these are letters, these are numbers, every letter makes a sound, this is what's frustrating, some of them make 6 sounds, I totally get it. There are some words that you can spend forever trying to sound out they, and you'll never be able to sound it. I know, it has the little word the in it, right, I get it, because half the time I'm like, look for a little word you know, right? And so it's so unfair the way our language works, but I'm going to help make those things more visible to you. So that book is like a butt-kicking reminder about this, what this work looks like in reading. If you haven't read A Squiggly Story, I happen to know it's in the library here because someone said, oh yeah, we have that book. The media specialist came down and said, but A Squiggly Story is about a boy who's like, I don't have anything to write about. And the sister runs, excuse my French, but a kick-ass writing conference. She actually is like, yes you do, everyone has a story to tell. And it's just this super powerful reminder of like, oh right, you might not be doing it citing text evidence yet. We'll get there. Tell me more. Let's keep working on it. So thank you for sort of making yourself vulnerable to be like, what can we take? And I really want to push this idea. The very first thing you'll be taking in this tiny bite of jumping into this work is helping shift the mindset that every kid in your class is a writer. And when you create a writing community and hold high expectations, systems and structures, your teaching structure and in your support structure, that good things happen for writers. Yeah. One more person want to share what they want to get out of this? Yes.
I just want to say, when they answered the question, could you repeat it so that we can hear it?
Oh, yes. They said, what can we get out of this? Yes, so that we can bring to all of our writers. Oh, yes, so that it's on the microphone too. Yes. Hi, Lisa. You're so cute. Okay. One more thing. Okay, Kyle. Oh, you got saved. Kyle?
Nope, you got it.
No, Kyle, you got it. I already harassed her about something earlier. Sorry. What do you want to get out of this?
Well, I haven't taught writing in 4 years now.
Yeah.
So I am very uncomfortable with the whole writing program.
Awesome. Kyle, I'm going to wake you up in the middle of the night. I'm going to get your mobile number and I'm going to text you and be like, Kyle, what are the 3 parts of workshop? It's 1 o'clock in the morning and you're going to know it at the end. So let's actually make that shift right now into writing workshop. So I'm going to ask you to shake out your wrists, find something good to write with, not a highlighter. You need a pen or something that helps you. Shrug your shoulders back a few times. I do want to quickly find out how many people know the Kathleen Kroll book, Wilma Unlimited? Does anyone know this book? You guys know it? Yeah, anybody else familiar with it? You know this book? Yep, you know it? Yep. Do you think you could do a quick summary of it? Okay. Do you think you could do a quick summary? Yeah. Tiffany is your whole class voice.
So it's about a runner named Wilma Rudolph who, when she was born, I think she had polio.
Mm-hmm.
So she was told she couldn't walk, and they had to put brace on her leg, and she was really upset about having the brace on her leg. And so then, I can't remember what happened, something about she gained strength, she believed she could do it, and then she ended up, I'm jumping way at the end.
Yep, it's okay.
At the end, she became an Olympic runner and probably won a gold medal.
Multiple gold medals. And then she became a teacher after she was an Olympic runner. Isn't that awesome? Wilma Rudolph became a teacher after her Olympic career. So beautiful illustrations by David Diaz. He also illustrated Smoky Night by Eve Bunting. So that might look familiar if you're an Eve Bunting fan, among many other powerful books, but we're not getting to look at the pictures because we're high schoolers or beyond or adults. If I could, I would buy everyone a copy of that book, but it is beautiful. And Kathleen Kroll is a phenomenal nonfiction writer. So if she's not someone that's on your radar screen, you should absolutely be like, I got to get some Kathleen Kroll books from the library or the bookstore, because oftentimes if we find ourselves like loving one genre, we have to push into other genres to make sure we build up our repertoire of what we're giving kids exposure to. So here's how this time is going to work. I'm going to shift gears into pretending that we are a class that read Wilma Unlimited last week when we finally had school despite all the snow days, and then I read it again yesterday, and then we're coming together and I'm using it as a text. Typed up part of the text for you. I'm also going to be super specific and writerly. I'm teaching an actual lesson that's in the units of study with switched out mentor text. So you're going to be like, her language is so strange and foreign, but I'm using the language of Lucy Calkins. So I'm going to teach that mini lesson. Then I'm going to give you a writing time, and you're going to write for about 8 minutes or so. And I'll let you know when it begins and when it ends. It'll be super obvious. I am not going to conference with you guys during that time. Normally you would conference during writing workshop time. I'm not going to come over and be like, so Andrea, tell me what you're writing about right now. Or, now Sue, I know you've been struggling with getting started. Do you want to use one of our strategies? I'm just going to let you be adult writers for those 8 minutes of writing. And I'm going to ask you to rally to write for 8 minutes. The last part of workshop is sharing, so whatever you write today, you're going to be sharing with someone. So your writing can be personal, but it shouldn't be private. So I'm not letting you pass at the end, okay? And sharing in workshop is a very different construct. You don't put all the names in the jar and then you're like, share is our lucky winner, share. Come up into the sharing chair. The sharing, get it? Share. That's not how share works in workshop. So you'll experience a units of study type style share, which will have you working on your writing and reading it and analyzing it and thinking about what you did well and how you can grow. I want to just make sure, if you has anyone On page 5, there's sort of like a blank piece of notebook paper, but I noticed a few people were using it to take notes. Has anyone written in more than half of this? More than half? Okay, great. So we're going to pretend this is our writer's notebook later, and I know some people used it, so I just want to make sure people weren't like, oh my gosh, why didn't you tell us sooner? And I actually brought a bunch of chart paper, but in a real classroom, I would have a chart up as our anchor chart, and I am projecting our anchor chart instead, and I'm going to teach off this chart during the mini lesson, which is going to seem a little bit weird because it's not a chart, but the room is so big that I'm having to fake that through. Okay, so there's going to be a mini lesson. Then there's going to be a writing time where you're going to work and write, and then there's going to be a share time. We're going to do all 3 parts. This is just like what Writer's Workshop looks like. You're not going to raise your hand and say like, well, how would you do this with second graders? Like, we're going to be in workshop for the next 25 minutes together, okay? Let's do that mindful breath. One more time, 2 hands over your heart. Take that breath in. Blow it out and make a noise. Awesome. Writers, we have been studying mentors, and we know that this is one of the things that great writers do in order to grow their skills. And Kathleen Kroll is our new person we're studying. Patricia Polacco, as you know from the anchor chart, we spent at least a week digging into how every one of her stories has a heart. Then Kevin Hankes. Oh, when we read Chrysanthemum, we found dozens and dozens and dozens of examples. The way even the name of that teacher, Mrs. Chudd, helped elicit emotion from us and get us thinking about, is Mrs. Chudd supposed to make us feel good or bad? Well, we know Miss Delphinium Twinkle made us feel good. Mrs. Chudd was a Debbie Downer, right? So writers choose their words so carefully. Today, I'm going to teach you another thing that great writers do, and we're going to use Kathleen Kroll as an example of this. Great writers slow down their storytelling, and they use details that help you get to the heart of the lesson, the heart of their story. Great writers slow down and give you details. And those details lead right back to the heart of the story. So we've been talking about how Kathleen Kroll did not fool us at all about what the heart of her story was. Wilma Unlimited is called Wilma Unlimited because it is a story where at its heart is about how Wilma Rudolph was unlimited. She was persistent and determined and did everything she could to reach her goal. No surprises there. We did not have to work hard at all. But I want to show you where Kathleen Kroll did something that you can do as a writer to help make sure your readers, when you write stories, understand the heart of your story. I want you to go to the middle of the page 3 with me, where it says, but Wilma kept moving any way she could. And grab a pen so that you are interacting with this text as I do this. Ready? But Wilma kept moving any way she could. Wait a second. Is that an example of Wilma being unlimited right there? It is. Any way she could. That's an example of her persistence. So let's see what Kathleen Kroll does next. By hopping on one foot, she could get herself around the house, to the outhouse in the backyard, and even on Sundays to church. So do you see she didn't make a summary statement? Wilma kept moving any way she could. And then go to the next idea. She gave us a set of details. She slowed down the storytelling so much that we can see this. Close your eyes while I read it. Hopping on one foot, she could get herself around the house. Eyes on me. Did you see that in your... So Kathleen Kroll gives us details about Wilma's persistence despite the fact that she's fighting polio and has this brace. I want to show you another place where this happens. Just pop down beyond that. Doctors and nurses at the hospital helped Wilma do exercises to make her paralyzed leg stronger. Okay, that sentence could end right there, and that would be enough. But Kathleen Kroll goes on. At home, Wilma practiced them constantly, even when it hurt. Do you see how by adding more details and slowing down, instead of rushing to finish up that sentence or that idea, Kathleen Kroll gave us more to work with. We know that the more we write, the more often we're going to find those perfect words. Lots of words on the page. That's our goal. Friends, I want you to go to the very bottom of this page. On one Sunday on her way to church, okay? So this is a little bit weird because not everyone might not have background knowledge on going to church, but I want you and your partner, quickly find that partner that you're working with. I want you and your partner to see if you can underline a place, reading at the bottom of page 3 and up to the top of page 4, where Kathleen Kroll has added details, slowed down, put more words in her storytelling to help us see how unlimited Wilma is. Go ahead, have a go at it quickly. Get with a partner quickly, read it together. You guys triple up. Get with a partner, you guys triple up. Awesome. Great. Read it, pen in hand. What do you notice? What does she do? Wilma's alone. What does she hear? Tell me the exact words. What does she hear? Yeah, talking loudly, sounds of hymns. And what does she do with her knee brace? She unbuckled her heavy brace and puts it to the side, and then she does the same thing we do when she's nervous. What does she do? Takes a deep breath. Do you see how slowly all of that is happening? Kathleen Kroll could have written, she took off her brace and walked down the church. Everyone was surprised. It was a miracle. But that's not what she did. She used many, many words to tell us just this little bit of the story. Great writers slow down their storytelling, and they include, what did I hear? What did I see? What did I do? That's hard work. Patricia Polacco is an expert. Kevin Henkes is an expert. Kathleen Kroll is an expert writer. But writers, we can do those exact same things. And what I want to encourage you to do today, when you go to your writing, is I want you to remember that you're writing a story with heart. Not just a beginning, middle, and end. That was good enough last year, but now we actually have hearts to our story. And that you also want to use emotional words. We're doing much less with the good and the bad and the happy and the sad, and drawing out Delphinium Twinkle and Miss Chud in our own writing. And last but not least, Kathleen Kroll is saying, can you slow down what happened so that your reader can really start to understand the emotion or the heart of your story? Now it's time for all of us to write. I want you to go to page 5 in your writer's notebook. And I want you, writers, to take that deep breath. So let's do it together. And I want you to write a true story. Unlimited moment. A moment you were unlimited, a moment a friend was unlimited, a moment a relative was unlimited, but we're just going to be inspired by Kathleen Kroll's one-word heart of her story. Now, you might not, raise your hand if you've been in the Olympics. See, very few of us have been in the Olympics, but all of us have moments where we've had to be, and I'm doing those synonyms, persistent, determined, be in that not give up space about love or family or work. So I want you to not get stuck in your topic, and I want you to quickly put pen to paper and get as many words on this paper as you can in the next 8 minutes, really thinking, how can I choose my words carefully? and how can I slow down so that my reader understands what's happening. Okay, pen to paper, we're going to write for 8 minutes. 8 minutes, an unlimited story, an unlimited story. Part of your story. Yeah, anybody else need a highlighter so that we can do that work? Anybody else? Highlighter? So I want you to go back and read on your own and look for a place where you either found the heart of your story in your writing, used language that elicited emotion, or slowed down a bit to really include details. So go back and read and look for a sentence, a phrase, something you can compliment yourself on. Writers, when you find that piece, stand up, put your own work in your hand, okay? So I want you to stand up, hold your writing in your hand with a sentence or a phrase highlighted, and we're going to wait till everybody's standing, which should be in about 15 seconds or so. And we are going to do one of our favorite shares, and this is something we've had to work to get good at, but it is a cocktail party share. So when we have a good cocktail party, or if you're 8, a tea party, what you want to do is talk to as many people as possible, but it is not a race. So when we approach someone up, we're going to use the same stem for each person that we talk to. We're going to say, today I wrote, and then you're going to read what you highlighted. And then you're going to put your piece behind your back, and they're going to say, oh, well, today I wrote, and then they're going to read their writing. And in the next 4 minutes, you want to talk to at least 3 different writers, listening to what other people wrote and sharing your own writing. Do not tell them the whole story of your piece. Do not read your whole paragraph to them. Some of you only highlighted 10 words. So when we go to today I wrote, you'll only read those 10 words, okay? So quickly but safely find that first partner, share with them, then thank them and move on. You have 4 minutes to read with as many people as you can. Turn your document to page 6, and when we come back, we're going to debrief those 3 parts of workshop: the mini lesson, the share time, the work time, and the share time. But as we head into I'm going to be forthright, this isn't a break. We are gathering our dinner. There's plenty of snacks left and water bottles left too. We're going to bring our stuff back down. If you need to use the restroom, you can use the restroom. If you want to organize your things, you can organize your things. Toss out your salsa plates. But in about 12 to 15 minutes, we're going to hit the ground running again with work to have this working dinner so that we are busting out of here, with exit tickets at 6:45. So the more efficient we are now, the sooner, we increase our chances of an on-time departure. So we are headed upstairs for dinner.